the past, living alone was often seen as something that only older women experienced, a phase that followed divorce, widowhood, or children leaving home. But today, things are changing. More and more women, even in their 20s and 30s, are choosing to embrace life on their own. For some, it's a practical choice: career demands, education, or the desire for independence. For others, it's deeply personal, a conscious decision to focus on self-growth, mental peace, and personal fulfillment. Yet, despite this rising trend, society often misinterprets their choice. Women who live alone are frequently met with pity or concern. "Aren't you lonely?" Or "Don't you get tired of being by yourself?" are questions they hear all too often. But the truth is, many of these women aren't lonely. They're empowered. They've discovered something powerful: the ability to build a life that's completely their own. They create their routines, explore their passions, and cultivate a deep sense of self-worth, all without depending on someone else to fill the gaps. Living alone isn't about isolation. It's about independence. It's about learning to trust yourself, to enjoy your own company, and to thrive in a life that reflects who you truly are. In this video, I'll share 8 powerful truths about women who live alone, and why their journey is one of strength, courage, and freedom. Fact 1. You don't feel lonely. You feel empowered. For years, society has painted a picture: a woman living alone must be lonely, restless, or missing something. But that couldn't be further from the truth. For many women, living alone is not just a circumstance, it's a conscious choice. And instead of feeling isolated, they find something far more powerful: empowerment. Living alone doesn't mean you're disconnected from the world. In fact, it can mean the opposite. It's about forming a deeper connection with yourself. It's about finding comfort in your own company, enjoying your own space, and embracing the freedom to live life on your own terms. For many women, this newfound independence becomes their greatest source of strength, the kind of strength that others often misinterpret as detachment or coldness. But that's far from the truth. I remember my friend Claire. She's a self-proclaimed introvert who once feared the idea of living alone. After ending a long-term relationship, she worried about the silence, the emptiness, and the lack of companionship. She feared that without someone to share her space with, her life would feel small and incomplete. But something unexpected happened. Over time, she discovered that those quiet moments, the very things she once feared, became her greatest gift. Each morning, Claire wakes up early, makes herself a cup of coffee, and spends 30 minutes meditating by her window. She says it's her favorite time of day, a time when the world feels calm and her thoughts are clear. Instead of feeling lonely, Claire feels grounded. Instead of being restless, she feels at peace. The absence of constant chatter allowed her to reflect deeply, rediscover forgotten passions, and embrace her own company. Friends often ask Claire if she feels lonely, but she just laughs. "Lonely?" she says. "I've never felt more connected to myself." That's the hidden truth most people overlook. When you're comfortable being alone, you stop relying on others to fill your emotional gaps. You build an inner strength that others notice and admire. And that kind of strength creates a powerful presence, one that can't be ignored. Women like Claire don't spend their time waiting for plans to happen. They create their own joy. They take spontaneous road trips, sign up for dance classes, or spend hours lost in a good book. They make their space their sanctuary, a place that feels safe, comforting, and uniquely theirs. Claire turned her apartment into her personal oasis filled with plants, soft lighting, and framed photos from her travels. Every corner reflected her personality, her favorite scents, her treasured books, her vision board full of goals and dreams. This environment became her anchor, a space where she felt truly at home. And here's something surprising. This kind of self-assured independence isn't just attractive, it's magnetic. Men notice it. Friends admire it. People are drawn to women who are at peace with themselves because that kind of confidence is rare. When you're not seeking constant attention or external validation, people start wondering, what makes her so calm? What's her secret? Of course, there will be moments of doubt. The silence can feel intimidating at first. Some nights might feel heavier than others. Claire told me that during her first few weeks of living alone, she found herself reaching for her phone just to fill the quiet. But the difference lies in how you embrace those moments. Strong women learn to sit with those feelings instead of running from them. They face the discomfort, and in doing so, they grow stronger. They build resilience. They gain the ability to self-soothe, something many people struggle to master. I remember Claire telling me about one of her hardest days. It was her birthday, and she had planned to spend it alone. At first, she felt that familiar pang of sadness creeping in. The idea of celebrating without friends or family made her anxious. But instead of dwelling on it, she put on her favorite playlist, cooked herself a delicious dinner, and ended the evening journaling about everything she was grateful for. By the end of the night, Claire realized something powerful. She didn't need anyone else to make her day special. She had the power to do that herself. That's the strength women build when they embrace living alone. They learn to rely on themselves, not out of bitterness, but out of self-trust. They know they can handle whatever comes their way. They know they can comfort themselves after a bad day, find excitement on their own terms, and face life's uncertainties without always needing someone to lean on. And that kind of independence creates a glow, a quiet confidence that people can't help but notice. When you're content being alone, you stop seeking validation from others. You no longer feel the pressure to constantly prove your worth. Instead, you invest your energy in things that nourish you, your hobbies, your goals, and your peace of mind. That's the beauty of living alone. It forces you to create a life that's full, rich, and meaningful on your own. So if you've ever worried that living alone means feeling isolated, remember this. It's not about being alone. It's about being free. Free to explore who you are. Free to build a life that reflects your values, your dreams, and your own sense of purpose. Free to wake up each morning knowing that you are enough, that your life is enough, and that you are thriving, even without someone by your side. Women who master this aren't just surviving, they're thriving. They're not lonely. They're empowered. And when you carry that kind of strength inside you, the world takes notice. Because a woman who knows her worth and owns it is impossible to ignore. Fact 2. Financial independence brings confidence. I've always admired women who are financially independent. There's something undeniably powerful about a woman who knows she can take care of herself. Someone who doesn't just survive, but thrives on her own terms. Women like that carry themselves differently. They have this quiet confidence, a kind of elegance that doesn't come from designer clothes or flawless makeup. It comes from knowing they are fully in control of their own lives. I know this because I watched it happen firsthand with my sister, Emily. After ending her engagement, Emily found herself in a tough spot. She had always split expenses with her ex-fiancé, and now, living alone meant her financial reality hit hard. Rent, bills, car payments. Suddenly, everything was on her. She was scared, but instead of panicking, she made a plan. Emily started tracking every dollar she spent. No more impulsive online shopping or unnecessary splurges. She created a budget and stuck to it religiously. She even picked up a freelance side hustle to boost her income. Bit by bit, things began to change. I still remember the day Emily called me, her voice almost shaking with pride. "I just paid off my credit card," she said. "All by myself." It might have seemed small to some, but I knew what it meant to her. It wasn't just about money. It was about freedom. She didn't have to rely on anyone anymore. That realization changed her. She walked taller, spoke with more certainty, and started saying no to things that didn't align with her values. That's what financial independence does. It gives you the power to make decisions that are right for you. When you're financially independent, you gain a kind of power that's hard to describe. You're no longer trapped in relationships, out of fear, or stuck in a job you hate because you can't afford to leave. Instead, you become the one who decides where you live, how you spend your time, and even who you allow into your life. And here's the thing. Financial independence isn't just about paying bills. It's about creating a life where you get to say yes to the things that truly matter. When you control your finances, you control your choices. I remember Emily telling me about her first solo trip after becoming financially independent. She had always dreamed of visiting Italy but kept putting it off, thinking she'd wait until she had someone to go with. But once she felt confident in her finances, she booked the ticket herself. No more waiting. No more asking for permission. Just her passport, and her sense of adventure. When she returned, I barely recognized her. She was glowing. Not just because of the sights she'd seen, but because she had proven to herself that she could create her own experiences without depending on anyone else. That's the magic of financial independence. It opens doors you didn't even know existed. You stop waiting for someone to rescue you, and instead, you become your own hero. You start trusting yourself more, with your decisions, your dreams, and your future. And yes, people notice it. Confidence like that isn't loud. It's quiet, effortless. It's in the way you walk into a room, knowing you don't need to impress anyone because you've already impressed yourself. It's in the way you order what you actually want at a restaurant, not what's cheapest on the menu. It's in the way you say no to plans that don't excite you because you're no longer afraid of missing out. The truth is, financial independence makes you magnetic, not because of your wealth, but because of what that wealth represents. Stability, strength, and self-trust. I know some women hesitate when it comes to money. They tell themselves they're just not good with numbers or bad at saving. But the truth is, financial independence isn't about being perfect with money. It's about being intentional. It's about knowing what you value and directing your resources toward those things. It's about giving yourself permission to invest in your growth, whether that means signing up for that class you've been putting off, taking yourself on a solo trip, or building an emergency fund that lets you sleep soundly at night. And here's what matters most. Financial independence isn't about becoming rich. It's about becoming secure. It's about having enough to know you're safe. Enough to know you can handle life's surprises without falling apart. Because when you feel secure, you're free to be bold. You're free to take risks, chase dreams, and walk away from anything that no longer serves you. So if you've ever doubted your ability to stand on your own, remember this. You don't need a fortune to be financially independent. You just need a plan. Start small. Track your spending. Build an emergency fund. Explore new income streams. Bit by bit, your confidence will grow, and with it, your sense of freedom. The most beautiful thing about financially independent women isn't just their ability to buy nice things. It's their ability to choose. Choose peace over chaos. Choose opportunity over limitation. Choose to build a life that reflects who they truly are. And that's what makes them unforgettable. Because a woman who controls her own life, that's a woman no one can ignore. Fact 3. You have full control over your life. When you live alone, you become the architect of your own life. Every decision, big or small, is yours to make. No compromises, no waiting for someone else's approval, no adjusting your plans to fit another person's schedule. For some, that kind of control might sound intimidating, but in reality, it's one of the most empowering gifts you can give yourself. Imagine waking up each morning knowing that your time, energy, and choices are entirely yours. If you want to start your day with yoga at sunrise, you can. If you'd rather sleep in and spend your afternoon exploring a new hobby, no one's there to question you. Living alone gives you the rare opportunity to shape your life exactly how you want it. And that's incredibly powerful. When you have full control over your life, you gain the freedom to make decisions that align with your values. You don't have to say yes to plans that drain you or tolerate relationships that weigh you down. Instead, you can choose to surround yourself with people who inspire you, pursue passions that energize you, and dedicate your time to things that truly matter. There's no pressure to live according to someone else's timeline. You can move cities without hesitation, switch careers without over-explaining, or take a spontaneous weekend trip without anyone questioning your choices. That kind of freedom doesn't just feel good. It gives you space to grow. It allows you to break free from social expectations and build a life that reflects who you truly are. Control over your life also brings something else: mental clarity. When you're not constantly adjusting to meet someone else's needs, your mind feels lighter. There's no endless back and forth about where to eat, how to spend weekends, or which Netflix series to binge. Instead, you learn to tune in to what you really want. That clarity helps you make better decisions that align with your goals, your energy, and your emotional well-being. Of course, with this control comes responsibility. When you live alone, there's no one else to blame when things go wrong. If you forget to pay a bill, skip the gym, or put off your goals, that's on you. But here's the thing: that responsibility is a gift in itself. Because when you own your mistakes, you gain the power to fix them. You stop waiting for someone else to save you, and instead, you become your own solution. That's when your confidence starts to build. When you realize that no matter what life throws at you, you can handle it. Taking control of your life also teaches you self-discipline, and that discipline gives you power. When no one's around to hold you accountable, you become the one who sets your standards. You learn to push yourself when it's hard, stay consistent when motivation fades, and follow through even when no one's watching. Over time, this discipline spills into every area of your life: your career, your health, your relationships. The more you master your habits, the stronger you become. And here's the truth: women who take full control of their lives radiate a different kind of presence. They move with purpose. They speak with conviction. They set boundaries without apology. That quiet self-assurance makes them magnetic, not just to men, but to anyone who crosses their path. Because deep down, people are drawn to those who know what they want and have the courage to go after it. Taking full control of your life doesn't mean cutting yourself off from others. It means learning to rely on yourself first. It means trusting your instincts, backing your own decisions, and building a life that feels authentic to you. When you reach that point, you stop craving constant reassurance from others. Instead, you carry yourself with the quiet confidence of someone who knows they're capable. Someone who doesn't just follow life's path, but actively shapes it. And yes, that kind of control makes you undeniably attractive. It's not about arrogance, it's about presence. When you stop living to please others and start living to fulfill yourself, you glow differently. People can sense it. That calm, grounded energy that says, "I know who I am, and I'm proud of it." So if you've ever doubted your ability to thrive on your own, remember this: living alone isn't about isolation. It's about independence. It's about waking up each day knowing that your time, your choices, and your future are entirely in your hands. When you embrace that power, when you take full control of your life, you become unstoppable. You become a woman who doesn't just survive, she thrives. A woman who doesn't wait for permission, she creates her own path. A woman who doesn't follow the crowd, she sets the standard. And that's a kind of strength no one can ignore. Fact 4. You master your emotions. Living alone gives you the rare opportunity to develop something incredibly powerful: emotional mastery. When you no longer have someone beside you to absorb your frustrations or provide constant reassurance, you're forced to face your emotions head-on. And that's exactly what makes you stronger. At first, this can feel overwhelming. When you live alone, there's no one to vent to after a stressful day at work, no one to comfort you when anxiety creeps in, and no one to distract you from moments of sadness. For many people, that silence can feel intimidating. But here's what happens when you learn to sit with those feelings instead of running from them. You develop resilience. Emotional mastery isn't about ignoring your emotions. It's about learning to understand them. Living alone gives you the space to observe what's happening inside you without pressure or judgment. Instead of projecting your feelings onto others, you learn to process them in a healthy way. And this changes everything. I remember a friend of mine, Rachel, who once struggled with intense anxiety. Whenever something went wrong, a bad day at work, an argument with a friend, she'd immediately call someone to talk it out. She relied heavily on others to calm her down, and while that worked for a while, it left her feeling dependent. When Rachel eventually moved out to live alone, she found herself forced to handle those anxious moments on her own. At first, she panicked, but over time, she discovered new ways to cope. Instead of reaching for her phone, Rachel started journaling, a habit that allowed her to pour her feelings onto paper rather than suppressing them. When anxiety hit, she began practicing deep, breathing exercises and meditation. Slowly but surely, those techniques worked. Rachel realized that she didn't need someone else to calm her down. She had the tools to comfort herself. And with each success, her confidence grew. That's what emotional mastery looks like. It's not about denying your feelings. It's about learning how to manage them with strength and self-awareness. Living alone gives you the space to recognize your emotional triggers, identify unhealthy thought patterns, and develop strategies to handle them. For example, instead of turning to someone for comfort every time you feel overwhelmed, you may find yourself developing healthy coping mechanisms. That might mean stepping away from your screen for a walk when you're feeling stressed, taking up yoga to quiet your mind, or simply allowing yourself to cry without feeling embarrassed. When you live alone, you become more in tune with your emotions, and you stop reacting impulsively. Instead of snapping at others when you're frustrated or seeking comfort from someone else when you're sad, you start finding calm within yourself. This doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you learn to feel without letting those emotions control you. Over time, this emotional strength starts to show in your everyday life. You become less reactive. You stop dwelling on things you can't control. When difficult situations arise, whether it's a stressful deadline or an unexpected setback, you know how to stay calm and focused. People will notice this shift in you. They'll see someone who carries herself with quiet strength, someone who doesn't crumble under pressure or seek constant validation. And here's the most beautiful part. When you learn to master your emotions, you also become better at handling relationships. Instead of relying on a partner to stabilize your feelings, you enter relationships from a place of balance. You no longer cling to people out of fear, nor do you push them away out of insecurity. You connect with others because you want to, not because you need to. This emotional stability makes you incredibly attractive, not just to men, but to everyone around you. People are drawn to those who radiate calmness and self-control, because that kind of energy is rare. It's the kind of presence that makes others feel safe and valued. But emotional mastery isn't something you achieve overnight. It's a skill, one that requires patience and practice. You'll have tough days, moments when your emotions feel overwhelming, and times when you doubt your own strength. But the more you learn to manage those feelings, the stronger you become. So if you're living alone and you find yourself feeling anxious, overwhelmed, or restless, don't fight it. Don't rush to push those feelings away or distract yourself with social media or binge watching. Instead, sit with those emotions. Ask yourself what they're trying to tell you. Write them down. Breathe through them. Embrace the discomfort. Because on the other side of that discomfort is growth. With time, you'll realize that your emotions no longer control you. You control them. And when you reach that point, you'll understand something powerful. Mastering your emotions doesn't just make you stronger, it makes you free. Free to feel deeply without fear. Free to connect with others without losing yourself. Free to live your life with calmness, clarity, and purpose. That kind of emotional strength is magnetic. It makes you resilient in the face of hardship, composed in the middle of chaos, and peaceful in moments of uncertainty. And when you carry that strength inside you, when you know that no matter what life throws your way, you can handle it, you become unstoppable. Fact 5. You discover your true value without external validation. When you live alone, something remarkable happens. You begin to see your true value in a way you never did before. Without constant feedback from others, you learn to trust your own judgment, to believe in your own worth, and to recognize that your value isn't defined by someone else's approval. This shift doesn't happen overnight. For many women, especially those who've spent years relying on compliments, praise, or relationship status to feel secure, living alone can feel unsettling at first. Suddenly, there's no one to tell you that you look beautiful before you head out the door. No one to applaud your career wins or reassure you when you're doubting yourself. At first, that silence can feel deafening. But here's what happens. When you sit with that silence, you start to listen to yourself instead. You start to ask questions you may have been avoiding for years. What makes me proud of myself? What do I love most about who I am? What am I capable of, even when no one's watching? Without realizing it, you begin to shift away from chasing validation and start to build something far more powerful: self-respect. You stop waiting for someone else to tell you that you're smart, funny, or strong, because you know it's true. And once you realize that, everything changes. Living alone strips away the noise, the opinions, the expectations, the social pressure, and allows you to see yourself clearly. You begin to celebrate your own victories, no matter how small they seem. Whether it's mastering a new recipe, completing a challenging workout, or fixing something around the house, each success becomes a quiet reminder: I'm capable. I can handle this. Over time, you become more aware of what actually matters to you. You stop seeking approval from people who don't align with your values. You let go of friendships that drain your energy, social circles that no longer inspire you, and habits that no longer serve you. Instead, you start making choices that reflect what you truly want, not what others expect. This is where the real power comes in. Women who discover their true value aren't easily swayed by trends, opinions, or empty praise. They don't need to post every achievement online just to feel validated. They don't rely on others to decide what's cool, attractive, or worthy. Instead, they develop an unshakable inner compass, a quiet, powerful sense of self-worth that no one can take away. When you live alone, you also become better at distinguishing between real connections and superficial ones. Because you no longer need others to make you feel whole, you start choosing people based on depth, not just attention. The friendships you build are grounded in mutual respect, not obligation. The people you allow into your life are those who genuinely add value, those who see you for who you are, not just what you can offer. This self-assurance spills into every area of your life. In relationships, you stop tolerating behavior that undermines your worth. In your career, you're less afraid to ask for what you deserve because you know you've earned it. In social situations, you feel less pressure to impress because you're already comfortable with who you are. Women who live alone develop a rare kind of confidence, one that's quiet but powerful. It's the kind of confidence that doesn't need to shout. It's in the way you hold yourself, the way you speak, and the way you make decisions without second-guessing. People can sense it. And the reason it's so magnetic is simple. It's real. This isn't about arrogance. It's about self-trust. When you know your value, you stop feeling the need to prove yourself to everyone you meet. You no longer waste energy chasing validation from people who never mattered in the first place. Instead, you focus on building a life that makes you proud, a life that reflects your strength, your ambition, and your authenticity. Of course, there will be moments when doubt creeps in. There will be times when you feel vulnerable, when you catch yourself wishing someone else could tell you you're enough. But when that happens, you'll realize something powerful. You don't need that anymore, because deep down, you know the truth. You've been enough all along. Living alone isn't about isolation. It's about learning to value yourself without conditions. It's about waking up each day knowing that you are worthy, not because someone said so, but because you believe it. And when you carry that belief with you, you walk through life differently. You stop chasing. You stop questioning. You simply become. And that kind of quiet confidence, that kind of self-acceptance is what makes you truly unstoppable. Fact 6. You build healthy boundaries. Have you ever said yes to something you didn't want to do, just to avoid disappointing someone? Maybe you agreed to stay late at work, even when you were exhausted. Or perhaps you kept answering texts from someone who constantly drained your energy because you felt guilty ignoring them. The truth is, setting boundaries isn't easy, especially for women. Society often pressures us to be accommodating, agreeable, and always available. But when you live alone, you're given a powerful opportunity, the chance to build healthy boundaries without guilt or apology. Living alone teaches you to say no, not because you're cold or selfish, but because you finally understand your limits. When you live by yourself, your time, space, and energy become sacred. And to protect that, you learn to filter what and who deserves your attention. At first, this can feel uncomfortable. When you start saying no more often, people may question you. Friends might push back when you turn down last-minute plans. Colleagues might expect you to pick up extra tasks because you have no one waiting at home. But here's the truth. When you build healthy boundaries, you teach people how to treat you. You show them that your time matters, that your energy is valuable, and that you will no longer sacrifice your well-being just to please others. One of the biggest changes that happens when you master boundaries is that you stop feeling obligated to explain yourself. Instead of long-winded excuses, you start giving short, confident responses like, "I can't make it tonight," or "I don't have time for that right now." No over-explaining, no justifying. Just clear, direct communication. And it's powerful. Building boundaries also means learning to prioritize your emotional well-being. When you live alone, there's no one to distract you from your feelings. This forces you to tune in and recognize what drains your energy versus what restores it. Over time, you become better at identifying toxic relationships. Those one-sided friendships where you're always the one giving. Or those interactions that leave you feeling exhausted. And when you learn to say no to those situations, you create space for healthier connections. Ones that are based on mutual respect and genuine care. Healthy boundaries don't just apply to your relationships with others. They apply to your relationship with yourself. Living alone allows you to set limits that protect your mental and emotional health. Maybe that means turning off your phone at 8 p.m. because you need time to unwind. Or perhaps it's learning to say no to your own habits, like resisting. The urge to doom scroll on social media or overwork yourself when you know you need rest. The most beautiful part of mastering boundaries is that it creates balance. When you know how to say no to what drains you, you have more energy to say yes to what fulfills you. Instead of constantly feeling pulled in 100 directions, you become intentional with your time. You choose relationships that nourish you. You focus on goals that excite you. You invest in activities that bring you peace and joy. And here's the truth. Women who know how to set boundaries are deeply attractive, not just to men, but to everyone. There's something magnetic about a woman who stands firm in her decisions, who values her time, and who isn't afraid to walk away from situations that compromise her peace. People respect those who respect themselves, and boundaries are the ultimate form of self-respect. Of course, setting boundaries isn't always smooth sailing. There will be moments when people try to test you, when someone questions your choices or accuses you of being too difficult or too distant. But those moments are your greatest opportunity, a chance to stand firm and prove to yourself that you are capable of protecting your space, your energy, and your peace. With time, you'll notice something incredible. Boundaries become second nature. You no longer hesitate before declining an invitation that doesn't feel right. You don't feel guilty for putting your needs first. And you stop seeking approval for decisions that are best for you. Living alone gives you the space to master this, to reflect on what you want, what you need, and what you're no longer willing to tolerate. And once you master those boundaries, you'll realize something powerful. Building them isn't just about keeping negativity out. It's about making room for what's truly meaningful. Boundaries allow you to create a life where you feel calm, focused, and in control. They give you the freedom to live authentically, to spend your time on things that matter most to you. And that's what makes you powerful. Not just as a woman who lives alone, but as a woman who knows her worth. Fact 7. You explore your passions freely. Living alone opens up a world of opportunity, a chance to explore your interests, passions, and creativity without compromise. When you don't have to adjust your schedule to fit someone else's, you're free to dive into the things that truly excite you. For many women, this becomes the turning point, the moment they rediscover parts of themselves they once put aside. I've seen this firsthand with my aunt, Susan. For years, Susan devoted herself to her family, balancing work, raising her kids, and making sure everyone else's needs were met. Somewhere along the way, she forgot about her own. Music had always been her greatest passion, but as life got busier, her guitar collected dust in the corner of her living room. Then came a major life shift. Her children moved out, and Susan found herself living alone for the first time in, decades. At first, she struggled with the silence. The once lively household was now quiet, and she wasn't sure how to fill her time. But instead of feeling defeated, Susan did something remarkable. She picked up her guitar again. What started as a quiet attempt to reconnect with an old hobby turned into something bigger. She started playing every evening just for herself. No pressure, no expectations, just music filling her space. Over time, Susan's confidence grew. She began writing her own songs, simple, heartfelt pieces that reflected her life's journey. Eventually, she started performing at local cafes and open mic nights. The shy, hesitant woman who once doubted herself had found her voice again, not because someone encouraged her, but because she created the space to explore her passion on her own terms. That's what happens when you embrace solitude. You gain the freedom to reconnect with your forgotten interests and unearth new ones. Living alone creates space for curiosity, a chance to say yes to experiences without hesitation. Maybe it's finally signing up for that painting class you've been putting off, joining a book club where you meet like-minded women, or rediscovering your love for baking. When you're alone, there's no pressure to justify your choices. You don't need permission to explore what excites you. You simply do it. Living alone also gives you the rare gift of uninterrupted focus. Without constant distractions or demands on your time, you can fully immerse yourself in what you love. Whether it's writing, crafting, dancing, or learning a new language, you have the mental space to go all in. And that's when your creativity flourishes. Ideas flow more freely when your mind isn't cluttered with obligations or social noise. And here's something important. Exploring your passions isn't just about finding something you're good at. It's about giving yourself permission to fail, to experiment, to play, and to try things without worrying about the outcome. When you live alone, there's no audience judging your attempts. You can paint badly, write terrible poetry, or burn dinner 3 nights in a row, and it doesn't matter. That freedom, the freedom to create without judgment, is what allows you to grow. Passion isn't always loud or glamorous. Sometimes it's quiet, something you do just for you. It's spending an entire Saturday perfecting a new recipe. It's learning to garden and finding peace in the process. It's designing your own space, rearranging furniture, adding colors you love, and turning your home into a place that reflects you. When you invest in your passions, something incredible happens. You start to feel more fulfilled, more whole. Instead of chasing excitement from others, you learn to create your own joy. And that kind of joy radiates outward. People are drawn to women who are passionate not because of what they do, but because of the energy they carry. Passion makes you magnetic. It gives you a spark of light that shines from within. Of course, exploring your passions doesn't always feel easy. There will be moments when you doubt yourself, when you wonder if you're wasting your time, or if anyone will even notice what you're doing. But here's the truth. It doesn't matter. The purpose isn't to impress others, it's to connect with yourself. The real win is knowing that you're living authentically, doing things that make you feel alive, inspired, and fulfilled. Women who live alone often discover this faster than most, because they have the space to listen to themselves. They're not constantly adjusting their dreams to fit someone else's. Instead, they give themselves full permission to explore what excites them, without guilt, without apology, and without limits. So if you're living alone, or thinking about it, remember this: solitude isn't empty. It's full of possibility. It's a chance to explore your passions, rediscover your interests, and create a life that feels rich and meaningful. And when you start living that way, fully, engaged in what you love, you'll realize something powerful. You're not just surviving on your own. Fact 8. You design your own lifestyle. When you live alone, you gain something incredibly powerful, the ability to design your life exactly the way you want it. No compromises, no adjusting your plans to fit someone else's schedule, and no pressure to conform to routines that don't align with your values. Instead, you have full control to shape a lifestyle that feels authentic, meaningful, and fulfilling. For many women, this freedom is life-changing. No longer tied to the habits or preferences of others, you get to build your day around what makes you feel happy, productive, and at peace. Whether that means starting your mornings with meditation or dancing in your kitchen at midnight, it's your choice. Living alone gives you the space to create a rhythm that suits your energy. Some women thrive on structure, waking up early, planning their day down to the minute, and maintaining a strict routine. Others prefer to live more spontaneously, allowing their creativity to guide their days without rigid schedules. The beauty is that both approaches are equally valid. When you're alone, you don't have to justify your lifestyle choices to anyone. This freedom also extends to your home, your personal sanctuary. You can decorate every corner in a way that reflects you. Maybe that means filling your shelves with books you love, hanging art that inspires you, or surrounding yourself with plants that bring calm to your space. When you design your own lifestyle, your home becomes more than just a place to sleep. It becomes a reflection of your personality, your dreams, and your sense of peace. Even your eating habits can transform. When you're living with someone else, you often find yourself adjusting to their preferences, skipping spicy food because they can't handle it, eating at certain times because it fits their schedule, or avoiding foods you love because they don't. But when you live alone, your kitchen becomes a place of freedom. You get to experiment, try new recipes, explore different cuisines, or create comfort meals that feel like home. But designing your own lifestyle isn't just about your home or your daily routine. It's about building a life that reflects your values. Maybe that means spending your weekends hiking alone in nature, volunteering for causes that matter to you, or dedicating time each evening to reading, writing, or learning something new. Whatever brings you joy, whatever lights you up, you finally have the space to prioritize it without distraction. This freedom also allows you to redefine what success looks like for you. Many women grow up being told what their life should look like, that success means getting married by a certain age, owning a house, or climbing the corporate ladder. But when you live alone, you have the space to question those expectations. You begin to ask yourself, what do I really want? What does fulfillment look like for me? For some women, success might mean traveling frequently, exploring new cities, and embracing adventure. For others, it might mean creating a calm, peaceful lifestyle, one built on simplicity, creativity, and meaningful connections. The best part is that there's no right answer. The life you design is yours alone. Of course, this kind of freedom comes with responsibility. When you live alone, no one's there to nudge you out of bed, remind you to exercise, or push you to chase your goals. Instead, you become your own motivator. This requires discipline, the ability to set intentions for yourself and follow through without relying on external pressure. But this discipline isn't restrictive, it's empowering. Because when you build a life on your own terms, you discover something powerful. You're in control. You get to decide how you spend your time, who you allow into your life, and what kind of future you're working toward. And here's the best part. When you design a life that reflects your true self, you start to shine. Women who embrace this freedom carry a unique kind of energy, one that's calm yet powerful. They walk into a room with quiet confidence because they know they're living life their way. That energy is magnetic, not because they're trying to impress anyone, but because they've built a life that feels meaningful and true. When you create your lifestyle, you also stop comparing yourself to others. You're no longer chasing trends or trying to keep up with what society says you should be doing. Instead, you trust yourself. You know what works for you, and that's enough. So if you're living alone or thinking about it, embrace this opportunity. Use this time to build a life that feels authentic. Fill your days with what inspires you. Let your home reflect who you are. Make space for what matters most to you. Because when you take control of your lifestyle, when you stop living according to other people's expectations and start designing a life that brings you peace and fulfillment, you become unstoppable. You become a woman who isn't just surviving, she's thriving. Living alone is more than just a lifestyle. It's a journey of self-discovery, strength, and independence. It's about learning to embrace your own company, mastering your emotions, and building a life that reflects your values. For many women, this path isn't always easy. There are moments of doubt, moments when silence feels overwhelming, and moments when the world seems to question your choice. But through those moments, you develop something extraordinary: resilience. You realize that you are fully capable of navigating life on your own terms. You gain the confidence to say no when something doesn't align with your values, the courage to pursue your passions freely, and the clarity to build a lifestyle that feels authentic to you. Most importantly, you learn to define your own worth, no longer tied to someone else's approval or presence. You discover that your strength doesn't come from being surrounded by people. It comes from within. If you've chosen to embrace life alone, or if you're considering it, know that this journey is one of empowerment. Every step you take toward independence is a step toward building a life of purpose, peace, and fulfillment. And now, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever experienced the freedom that comes from living life on your own terms? What's one lesson you've learned about yourself through that journey? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your story might inspire someone who's just starting to walk this path.